My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me now and we will explore these topics and so much more with fascinating guests, authors, and experts who will guide us to Destination Unlimited. Have you ever asked yourself, what is your life purpose? Have you considered what you are doing here and whether or not you're on the right track to being fulfilled? These are the questions that world-renowned human design experts Chetan Parkyn and Carola Eastwood empower readers to answer in their new book, The Book of Destinies, Discover the Life You Were Born to Live. A companion to a book to Chetan's first book, Human Design, The Book of Destinies offers readers the opportunity to use the place, date, and time of their births to reveal their specific life theme, which offers a portrait of their true nature and reveals the underlying storyline of their lives. The culmination of Chetan and Carola's 20 years of human design research, practice, and readings, The Book of Destinies is for anyone who has ever stopped to ponder the deeper meaning of their existence. The life themes of celebrities and noted personalities are also included throughout the book. Chetan Parkyn is the author of Human Design, The Book of Lines, and most recently, The Book of Destinies. He's the world's most successful practitioner of human design and holds frequent workshops and seminars all over the world. Carola Eastwood is Chetan's wife, partner, and co-author of The Book of Destinies. She's maintained a private coaching and consulting practice since 1981. You can visit them online at www.humandesignforusall.com. Please join me in welcoming Chetan and Carola. Good evening.
Hello, Victor. Lovely to be here.
Hello, Victor. Thank you.
Wonderful to have you both. And I always like to start by asking guests to share with our listeners a little about their personal path and how they arrived at the work that they are doing now. So, Carola, why don't you share your experience first and then Chetan?
I'd be happy to. As a young woman, I experienced a tragedy in my life. I lost my first child, and I really didn't have the resources to deal with the kind of emotional pain that brought up. So I felt very lost, had no support around it, and got to a very deep place of grief that I didn't really know how to get myself out of, and had an amazing spiritual awakening experience that completely transformed my entire life. It happened in a moment of realizing that I could pray. What happened actually is I was standing on the edge of a cliff at night on a warm summer night in a Texas evening, looking down a rocky cliff at the lake and contemplating, if I pushed myself off this cliff, would I die? Because that's kind of all I could see for myself right then. And out of the window of somebody's apartment, a few paces away, the song was playing, George Harrison's song, My Sweet Lord. And I listened to the lyrics of that song, My Sweet Lord, I really want to see you. I really want to be with you. And something shifted, and I prayed. I said to God, if you're there, if there really is a God and you're there, I really need to see you. And then I just had this feeling of peace come over me, and none of my previous inclination to jump off the cliff was there. And I went to bed, woke up the next morning, and was awakened into an experience some of the Indian masters call Samadhi, enlightenment, God consciousness. I was in that state of being for 3 days, and it completely changed everything for me. That's what inspired me to start studying the ancient wisdom traditions. I learned astrology, studied with some astrological masters, became an astrological consultant professionally about 30 years ago, and since have studied many other change technologies and modalities, as well as counseling psychology. What happened about 20 years ago is I was introduced to the human design system, and I've been looking for a way to help my clients more quickly resolve patterns and issues and come into alignment with themselves. I wanted everybody to have, that a similar experience to what I had, to awaken to their higher self, their spirit consciousness. So I was really looking for a way. And what happened when I got introduced to human design and began studying it and using it with my clients is I saw much more rapid change, much more rapid process of people coming into alignment and self-actualizing. So that was about 20 years ago, and here I am today, still working with it and loving it.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And Chetan, how about your path?
Well, goodness, you could probably tell from my accent. I grew up in jolly old England.
No.
And went through the schooling system there, found myself needing to decide on some kind of a career, and I took up engineering. I went to university, I did an apprenticeship, I got a degree, I qualified as a mechanical engineer and started traveling as a troubleshooter. And I had a knack, I was good at fixing stuff. Came a point in time in my life I traveled all over the world doing this work. And there came a point in time in my life I just traveled all the way across Africa to Kenya. And I was sitting on my own, and I was, for the first time in some years, had an actual chance to look at my life. And I came to realize that I was clueless. I hadn't got a clue what was going on in my life. I'd done all the right things, I'd made all the right steps, I got the right qualifications, I was good at what I did, but I just really was not having much of a life. I wasn't really enjoying it all. I was going through the motions. So I took a trip. I flew to India, where I'd spent quite a bit of time previously, and I was guided to have a reading with a man that lived in Bombay, now Mumbai. This man was working with a system. It was a system that had been passed down father to son, I would have to say, for many thousands of years. And he was called a Chaya Shastri, and in English that literally translates to a shadow reader. He didn't actually read my shadow, but he took a measurement of my shadow. He asked for my birth date and time and place, did a calculation from that, asked for my full name, did another calculation from that, and was satisfied with a triangulation of these three different calculations he'd made. He had a huge bookshelf behind his desk, long, long bookshelf, stuffed with books. And he rolls his chair along, all the way along to the end, pulls out a book, one of these very similar-looking books to all the other ones, brings it back to the table, opens it up to a page, and starts reading. 1,000 lifetimes ago this, 100 lifetimes ago that. And he comes down to, last week, this week, next week. He tells me all about my upbringing, all the stuff I've learned in life, the religion I was brought up in.
Parents' names even?
All kinds of things. I mean, it's like, it was unbelievable. I was 26, 27 years old. I mean, it was the most extraordinary thing, having this information delivered to me. And at the end of the reading, he just kind of calmly closes the book up and he turns to me and says, I want you to come and work with me, because you know how to do this. And I was absolutely thunderstruck. I had, I didn't know what to do about it. And I pondered it for, must have been 30 seconds, and I just said, no, I can't do that. And he just cracked up laughing. He thought that was really funny, because he could see exactly where my life was going. He described it perfectly, and I couldn't see it. Mm. And after he finished laughing, he said, well, it doesn't matter, because you're going to do this work anyhow. And he said, I suggest you find some way of reading for people, because you've got the gift. Find out how to describe people to themselves, because there's a system that's going to come into your life. You're going to write books about it. You're going to read for people. You're going to introduce it to people all over this world. And it's going to change their lives. So I went tottering out of there, and true to form, I started looking into how to read for people. I read hands and faces and cards and tea leaves and auras and all kinds of things. And sure enough, in 1993, the human design system showed up in my life in the form of a chart. And I take one look at this chart, and I know right away this is what he'd been describing. So that was 1993. From then to now, that is what I've been doing. The first human design book came out in 2009. I had to wait 30 years for that. But it's now out in 11 languages and counting, and people all over the world have been exclaiming, now all of a sudden they get a very, very fresh perspective on their life and their life purpose.
What a wonderful sharing from both of you. And not to put the cart before the horse, but I have a quick question when it comes to names. We are all born with a given name, and sometimes during the course of our life, for whatever reason, the name is either shortened, turned into a nickname. How important is the birth name versus the name we use right now?
For human design purposes, it doesn't really make any difference. What does make a difference is what sunbeam you rode in on. Basically where you showed up in the world on what time, and we can work out everything in your human design life chart from that.
So from that standpoint, the name that one uses is irrelevant to the human design chart. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, it's not that numerology doesn't reveal some things about ourselves. It does, and it's valid. But human design gives completely different kind of information than numerology, astrology, actually than any of the ancient wisdom traditions, because it's a self-empowerment system, different than the other systems that were meant for a different age. Human design was brought through, channeled in, just only about 25 years ago, specifically for these times, specifically for the mass awakening that's happening and rippling throughout the entire world globally.
We're going to ask you to hold that thought, and I'm going to tell our listeners that my guests this evening are Chetan Parkyn and Carola Eastwood. They're the co-authors of the Book of Destinies, talking about human design and life themes, and we'll be back with them on Destination Unlimited on the OMTimes radio network after these messages.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Every Tuesday on Living with Moxie, join Shefali Burns and Donna Martouge in conversations designed to take you to the next level, where we highlight ideas, resources, and strategies that provide you with the leverage you require to meet and exceed your business and personal goals. Each week on Living with Moxie, we will lead conversations related to success, achievement, fulfillment, and extraordinary, vibrant living. Are you ready to live with Moxie? Join us.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. You're neutral to it, and you can hear it repeatedly without feeling anything. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we've achieved pulling a natural or inborn response from you. Save the food, because 40% of all food in the US never gets eaten. Save the food. Cook it, store it, share it. Just don't waste it. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com, brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
And we're back on Destination Unlimited. My guests this evening, Chetan Parkyn and Carola Eastwood, the authors of the Book of Destinies. So we started getting into a little bit about the concept of human design before the break. So all of your work is predicated on human design. Please explain, what is human design?
In very simple terms, human design is a gift for humanity. And as Carola was saying, we're going through such dramatically changing times at the moment that things that we were quite clear about 2 or 3 years ago and very, they were just considered understandings in our life, they no longer work for us. That all kinds of things are shifting momentarily, moment to moment in front of us. So human design, as Carola says, it's a self-empowerment tool. It's not relying on anybody else to tell you anything. It basically, once you understand about your human design, what you gave yourself for this lifetime, it has the means to guide you perfectly through this lifetime. So, for instance, you get involved in situations and interests in life that actually appeal to you, that resonate with you. You start making decisions about things that actually work for you. That this whole idea of, well, life's just a, we might get lucky kind of thing, it just is removed, because we start engaging in life on our own terms, exactly as we were designed to do in the first place. So what we found with human design is that people can make a really fast connection into their life. We've all been massively distracted, all kinds of conditioning, all kinds of different ideas of what life is. And human design puts you on the spot in your own life.
It really returns you back to your authentic self and connects you with your divine purpose, or the essential vision and inspiration that you had as a soul before you even incarnated into this life. What did you come here for? To be, to do, to express. And we, as for the most part, we've forgotten that. It gets conditioned out of us. And what human design does is it helps reawaken people to the essence of the truth of their own being. It does. It's you ask what is it? It's a compilation of 4 of the ancient wisdom traditions, along with 2 very modern sciences, neutrino physics and the human genetic code. So, and Chetan, do you want to talk about the wisdom traditions that are involved?
Well, the 4 wisdom traditions are astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, at least an understanding of the tree of life, and the chakra system, which is the review of the energy points within the body. And human design is an amalgamation, a synthesis, a compilation of these 6 different, I would have to say, sciences. And it is unique in its own right. It is not astrology, it is not I Ching, it is not neutrino physics, but it is an entity in its own right. And the knowledge of genetics and neutrinos, very recent information in terms of science having proven this. And so human design is exactly in its right time for people to take the greatest advantage of this.
It may sound complex, Victor, and you could view it as complex, as most things are when we're first confronted with them. But actually, there are some very simple keys, 3 main keys that Chetan and I, through our work, have distilled that really help people to make it very simple. One's human design type, how you're designed to move through life in a way that you stay healthy, and healthy not just physically, but emotionally, psychologically, mentally, spiritually. Your authority, how you're designed to make decisions that are always going to be the right decision for you. And if you think about that for a minute, that's huge. Because for me, as a counselor, I can tell you that I've had people in my office for, year after year, in pain because they married the wrong person, or they went down the wrong career path, or they simply made decisions that weren't truly in their own best interest, and now they're stuck in a life that they're unhappy in. And all of that can be avoided. So that's the beauty. That's why we're so excited about human design and about understanding our life themes. Is the beauty of it is that once we understand it, and it's simple to start living it, then we basically avoid those pitfalls and those detours. And sometimes those detours can go on for decades. So we streamline our life and our life experience. We return to our essential purpose, and we align with how we're uniquely designed to live, to be, to make decisions, to relate, to move through life. And when that happens, life starts to flow.
Now, on your website, humandesignforusall.com, you generously offer a free first key online human design report. And I took that. I filled down the information, very simple information that you asked for. And it said that my basic human design keys are, my type is a generator. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering how many kilowatts I am. My authority is sacral expressed generated, profile 2 of 4, or 2/4. And my life theme is the personal life theme of the Laws 4 with Sun in Gate 60. Now, I'm not asking for a complete reading or composite reading, but just give a basic explanation to our listeners of what those things mean.
So the first one you talked about, the type, you have the type of a generator. And yes, generators have lots of kilowatts. Plenty to spare. And that's one of the beauties of it, but it's also a difficulty because nobody ever really tells the generator how to use that energy. But you've got plenty of it. And what can very often happen for somebody with a generator design is they spend years of their life putting energy into things that don't necessarily work for them. And they can get quite frustrated with that.
And burned out.
And burned out even. And so then comes this whole thing of the authority.
Wait, let's say more about the generator. So, because I'm a generator. So when a generator is living in alignment with their type, they're responding to what life offers. And the response is either yes, where your energy opens up and embraces whatever's coming to you, and then all that life force energy is available for doing it, making it happen, or the response is no or not now. It's really that simple. So, yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because in my maturity, I just turned 64 the other day. In my maturity, I've been able to make those decisions wisely and look to where to apply my energy and where to withdraw my energy from. And it's been very, very life-changing for me and producing greater happiness and a greater sense of peace.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes with increased awareness, and it comes with maturity and age. But the beauty of this is you can give this information to a 20-year-old, and they can take hold of it and avoid a lot of the pitfalls that we all went through trying to figure our way out through life.
There you go. It's the old story. Where was this technology when I was a child?
Yes.
Okay, so now we have sacral expressed generated authority. What does that mean?
Well, it's basically what Carola was just talking about, that you have this, what we call a gut response to life, where it's not a thinking process, it's not an emotional process, it's not a feeling process, it's pure energy. That whoever or whatever shows up in front of you, you have a gut response to it. And the gut response is either, as Carola says, it's either a yes or it's a not now. And if it's a not now, that basically does mean exactly that. It's not happening now. Oh, but I've got all this energy. I probably should help them out, and I should get on with this, and this looks like a wonderful opportunity. And your gut response just said, not now. And that's a very important thing to understand, because generators, once they build up momentum on something, they have a really difficult time putting the brakes on. So,
and learning that saying no appropriately is perfectly all right to do.
Oh, it's essential.
Absolutely necessary.
Absolutely. And again, a lesson learned very late. Where were you guys when I was a child? Anyway, now you talk about profile 2/4 or 2 of 4. What is that?
Okay, so there are 12 of these different profiles. We each have one. I share that 2/4 profile with you, and I have to say I'm delighted with my life. It's basically... with a 2/4 profile, there's a certain kind of innocence about it. We're very heartfelt people. We love to engage with things from our heart, but we are really quite innocent in how we engage with life. We might even say unsophisticated sometimes. We stumble over things. We are full of amazement when we find something really interesting. We love to play, and you'll probably find that in your life, that this characteristic is it's part of your nature. You have a certain level of genius about you, that you can see things that perhaps other people can't necessarily see. And it's always a state of amazement in a sense. there is this other side of it as well. You don't really like being interrupted. Who is it that's got something that's so desperately important that they need to convey to you? You are, after all, playing in your own life. So interruptions can be a bit of a nuisance.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, life theme, the personal life theme of the laws. It says 4, Sun in Gate 60.
Okay. So the life theme of the laws, what you'll know about yourself right from the get-go in this lifetime, it was a transformational lifetime for you. That some people, they just see the straightforward path in front of them and they just put one foot in front of the other. For you, it's more like a leapfrog journey, that you go from one situation to another, to another, to another, and it's very hard connecting up the dots between how did this happen and then that happened. And so what you'll have found as well, not only is your life transformational, but anyone that travels with you will have to keep making those jumps as well. And some people can manage that very easily and others can't. The little 4 number beside it basically means that it is not only a transformational lifetime, it's a mutated lifetime, in that you will have had just a rapid growth process in your own life, and you will also be conveying that same sense of growth, of rapid transformation into other people's lives as well.
Absolutely accurate, absolutely amazing. My guests, Chetan Parkyn and Carola Eastwood. They're the authors of the Book of Destinies, based on the practice and the science of human design. Please tell our listeners how they can find out more about your work and get your book.
Well, it's very easy. The book is available from our website. It's also available on Amazon. It's also in a Kindle form, which is in beautiful color. So I recommend both the paper and the Kindle form. Hours of interest there. Our website, Human Design for Us all spelled out, humandesignforusall.com. And not only can you get the free report there, you can get a complimentary free report. You can also find the book in the products area on that page.
And we'll be back with Chetan and Carola after these messages on the OMTimes Radio Network.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hello! Join us, Lisa Berry and Michelle Carter, every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the Mindset Makeover, What's Possible. Get ready to become present, clear, and unstuck, and start living fully, led by your heart. While you listen and feel this transformation through vibration of word, sound, and song, you'll open up to what's possible and experience your shift.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
And we're back on Destination Unlimited. My guests this evening, Chetan Parkyn and Carola Eastwood, authors of the book of Destinies, which is the work of human design and life themes. So let's talk about life themes. Your new book talks about the opportunity to determine a person's life theme. What is a life theme, and how does it tie back to human design?
Well, our life theme is the essential purpose that we came here for. It's like, if you can imagine that on a soul level, before we incarnate, before we take on a body, have a birth in physical form in this third dimensional reality, from that place of just pure light, pure spirit, we have an inspiration for the lifetime. And that inspiration becomes the theme for the entire lifetime. It's you could say it's our purpose. It's what we came here to live out. And when we're in touch with our life theme, when we remember it and we're living it, we're in a place of joy. We're in a place of sort of openness to life. It's what's natural for us, but for, the majority of us, that awareness of our life theme has been conditioned out of us. We've actually forgotten it. And without it, it's kind of like it's our guiding principle, it's our guiding light, and without it, we're a little lost, or a lot lost. So essentially, the life theme is the central theme. It's like the theme to a movie, the theme to a book. It's that central theme that runs throughout the entire lifetime.
And how does that connect to human design?
Well, it's derived from human design. In other words, there's a point in the human design, 4 points in the human design chart that are the information from which we derive the life theme. But it's standalone. In other words, a person could get the Book of Destinies, read about their life theme. Each life theme has a full page in the book. And it's a standalone, powerful piece of information about your life. If you wanted to, you could take it no further. You wouldn't actually need to know your human design or learn about it, although we recommend that you do. But it really stands alone. It's a statement about you and your life and your purpose, and a bit about how that purpose gets to be lived out in this lifetime. Everyone has one of these. There's 192 different life themes. And usually when Chetan and when I have the opportunity to introduce people to their life themes, often it's astounding for people. I mean, we've had people just tears rolling down their face when they hear their life theme. It's powerful because it's a remembrance. The soul recognizes it.
Chetan, how many people are born and grow knowing their life theme naturally?
I don't know.
I would say very, very few people are actually in touch with it. What I found is when I read to somebody about their life theme, all kinds of bells go off for them. They kind of recognize things. They recognize points in time in their life when they were actually in tune with it, but didn't necessarily hold to that. So, this book's an essential book for people. It's part of this thing of helping people to find out who they really are and what they came here for, to remember that. And here's the beauty of it as well, is, once you've had your own life theme, once you've understood your own life theme, it's just fascinating to look at the life theme of your parents and your children and your friends and your whole family and the people you work with. It's like a major revelation that you have in finding out, oh my goodness, now I know why they're like they are and why they pursue these things in their life that held absolutely no interest for me, but it's obvious, I need to honor them in their path in life. So we've had a lot of fun with this as well. But it really is a revelation, and it's essential knowledge for these times.
What I'm hearing from both of you is that if every sentient human being knew their life theme and the life theme of others, we would really have paradise on earth.
That's what we're aiming at.
That maybe is. I think it would take a bit more than that, but that would be a good start towards paradise on earth. Because what is paradise on earth? It's just fully awakened human beings living and cooperating together, right? If we all did that, there would be no poverty, there would be no lack, there would just be creativity, pure creativity. So understanding our life theme, knowing our life theme, but I think it also essentially knowing our human design. With those two things, I think we could, if the entire world, if each human being, all 7 billion of us, knew our design, knew our life theme, we would have very rapidly paradise on earth.
And the reason I'm saying that is knowing why people do what they do, rather than judging them for that, understanding that that's who they are, that's their natural state, that's their perfected state. then it opens up the heart to compassion. And if the heart opens to compassion, there can be no hatred, there can be no instigation, there can be nothing that splits people apart.
It does, you're right, and it works wonders in our relationships. I mean, my relationship with my youngest son totally transformed when I understood his design. It's wonderful. And
yeah, we just watch him go in leaps and bounds in his life because that's part of his life theme as well, as to explore things way ahead of other people sometimes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, you had mentioned how many life themes? You said 190. I don't recall the number. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's 192.
192. Can you give us an example of some of them, not the ones that we've discussed already, a couple of different ones?
Well, people in the news at the moment.
How about Jack Canfield wrote the foreword to our book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's born in the life theme that we call contagion or transference. And this is a life theme where you establish an interest in something for yourself. You find out it really has some great interest for you. And then you can't wait to share it with everybody else. And through sharing it with other people, you find that you're really empowering them in their lives. I had the great delight of reading for Jack, and he and I just had so much fun doing his reading because, here's somebody that's very conscious, very aware of his life. And I kept saying things, and he would come back and, how do you know this? How can you tell me this? It's like, well, it's here in your design. And, and at the end of it, he felt so happy. He just said it was so great to have this input to help him feel reassured that he was always on the right track, that he'd been going to the right destinations of things. And so that was one person in their life theme. Who else can we think of? An interesting character. Who?
Do you want to do, how about Donald Trump? I mean, today's the day,
Oh,
right?
goodness gracious, yes. Donald Trump. His life theme is called the Garden of Eden. It's a very beautiful story, beautiful garden, and all of a sudden you're thrown out. And for anyone born in that life theme, it happens around the age of 4 or 5 years old, that they suddenly realize, they thought they were in a garden, and then they realize that the people around them are not on the same wavelength. So they spend, typically, their whole life trying to find their way back into the garden again. And they're looking on the outside to find the garden. So in Donald's case, he marries all these glorious women. He builds all these hotels, these casinos, these golf courses, these jet planes. He chases after all this stuff on the outside. And you can tell he's really not a happy person. He complains about everything and everybody. And, he's wanting people to love him, and he wants to have that experience of being accepted back into the garden. And the whole thing with this particular life theme is the garden's on the inside. The moment he makes a reflection and finds the garden inside himself, everything's going to change for him. And that's my perspective, for his presidency. There are 7-odd billion people that are here to convince him that he is actually loved.
Well, we'll see.
That's a lot of love. And I was just going to say that, as I had mentioned before, if we each knew each other's life theme, and in this case, President Trump's life theme, then perhaps we'd have a little more compassion, not only for him, but for others of that ilk.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it's all about.
Now, what
and
about...
we'll do our best to help people have this information about themselves.
Now, what about Mr. Putin?
I honestly don't remember his life theme.
You have to look it up.
I did. No, I read an article about him. I'm trying to think what it was. I put so many of these themes into the book. I can't remember offhand.
Let's talk about a couple of more celebrities that people can identify with. Who else would you like to share? A couple more.
Well, then, how about Hillary Clinton?
Ooh.
The presumptive who was expected to walk in there. And she's born in the life theme of the unexpected. And, sure enough, the unexpected came her way, and it comes her way all the time. She keeps getting these broadsides. She keeps getting these major disturbances in her life. And anyone that's born in that life theme, they cannot afford to get knocked off their balance. They have to hold their balance. They have to hold their vision. And I think, if she ever writes a book about her experience of losing the presidency, she would just say it. There came a point in time when she actually lost her vision. she lost the balance. She was somehow convinced or persuaded to look away from what actually needed to be done, what she knew in herself needed to be done.
And what about her relationship with her husband? How did that affect her life?
Well, Bill, I'm trying to think of his life theme as well. He's a generator. He's a very able man, particularly in the realm of money and wealth and growth and things like that. I don't know whether he distracted her or whether he encouraged her or whatever, but, they're an interesting partnership in a way. I have looked at their designs together, and I would have to say it's a power couple. Yes, there's a lot of love there, but it's it's a power relationship.
Is there a power struggle, though? That's really the question. I think we're going to leave that thought for our next segment because we're about to close our first segment. And also, let's talk a bit about how human design and life themes affect couples in romantic relationships. My guests, Chetan Parkyn, author of the Book of Destinies with his beloved Carola Eastwood, will be back with them and more on human design and the Book of Destinies after these messages on the OMTimes radio network.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You're bringing your daughter to a pop concert. Do you A, wear earplugs?
Isn't this fun, Dad?
I'll have a soft pretzel.
Or B, just roll with it?
Justin! OMG! I love you, Justin! I love you!
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, Intuitive Life Coach and Energy Healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
And we're back on Destination Unlimited. My guest this evening, Chetan Parkyn, and his beautiful Carola Eastwood, and they're the authors of the Book of Destinies, and we're talking about human design. And before the break, you were talking about the Clintons. I understand you found Bill Clinton's life theme.
I found Putin's life theme.
Oh, Putin, I'm sorry. Putin's life theme. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Putin's life theme is the one that we call Endeavor. And somebody born with that particular life theme, they basically take on anything. Nothing phases them. Mm-hmm. They can dive into just about any expression of who they are. And you'd have to see about his career. He's somebody that came up through the ranks, through the communist realm, and he just was able to grab onto anything that was going his way. And very good at organizing things, helping people become his friends and his, I wouldn't say cronies necessarily, but he's just, he's a master manipulator in a way. Just very, very clever. He can handle anything.
Now, if we look at his life theme and compare it with President Trump's life theme, how is that relationship going to unfold?
Well, honestly speaking, I think Donald is a little bit of a sitting duck. Just a very easy target. He has certain things in his life that make him feel like he's happy. And ultimately he finds out it doesn't make him happy. So whatever it is that he's been promised, I would take it all with a bit of a pinch of salt. I'm concerned, but what to do. It's not in my hands.
Mm-hmm. And I also understand you have Gandhi's life theme. Tell us about that, please.
Gandhi is born in the life theme we call upheaval. And anyone born in that life theme, basically, they cannot be avoided. They walk in the room, everybody pays attention, everybody sees them come into the room. And Gandhi, I wouldn't say single-handedly, but he had an amazing strategy of defeating the British Empire. Peaceful protest, nobody could deal with it. And, he turned the whole thing upside down.
Completely upended, yes. And that's upheaval.
Absolutely. Now, you shared a little bit about your respective life themes. Why don't we discuss those? Why don't you share your life themes in full, please?
Okay.
My life theme is explanation. I find I've been doing that my whole life. There were times when I was quieter than I am these days, but I find myself giving insight to people, helping them open doorways that they didn't know were there, explaining how to work best with their life process, their life journey.
Wonderful. And Carola?
Mine is the life theme of dedication. And essentially, dedication, it's a little bit like what you were talking about, Victor, about it's sort of very hard to say no to things. I'm so dedicated to wanting to be of service, to wanting to fulfill the highest and best within myself. And that life theme has really, it's kind of really, what would I say? It's been the underlying kind of driving force of my life. It's moved me through enormous challenges in this lifetime. And I find that internal, dedication to finding the highest, to finding the truth. And I won't give up. It's got a determination in it that's pretty rock solid.
I can confirm that.
So you and I are of the Bhakti yogic.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's a beautiful thing. That's actually a beautiful thing. We need people like us in this world. We really do. But we also need for people like us to also acknowledge and take care of ourselves. And I think that was my hardest lesson anyway.
Yes.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the ways that you've seen human design change people's lives.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, there was a family that we worked with some years ago who had three children, 2 girls and a boy. And the little boy was acting out in school so badly that the school principal and teachers were calling the parents into conference after conference and calling in all these experts. Anyway, the bottom line was that they wanted to put the child on drugs. And parents came to us for help. Chetan, you did a reading for each of them and then looked at what was going on within the family dynamic. And it was a very simple thing that you understood about the little boy. And we made some simple recommendations because what he needed was something completely different than what the other 2 children needed and what the parents needed in terms of environment and in terms of support. We recommended that the family make those changes, and they did. And within 2 weeks, all of that acting out behavior completely stopped.
Wow.
So, that's an example of how profoundly it can help a family.
I can give another example of a really old friend of mine. Really wanted to be in a relationship, but was absolutely hopeless at getting into a relationship. Just somehow would start off on the wrong foot and it would just go back downhill from there. And I told him about his design, and I said, look, you've got this generator design, you've got this sacral authority, you need to wait until something happens, until you get approached, and, see what your response is. Don't go chasing after people. Let circumstances reveal themselves to you. And for once, he took my advice. And sure enough, he's in this situation where he's distracted. He's putting his attention all over something else in his life, and he gets approached by this very beautiful young lady. And she comes into his world and starts interacting with him, and he finds immediately he has a clear response to be engaged with her. And all of a sudden, his whole love life turned around. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, that's a very simple thing, but very, very powerful to watch.
And since we have Valentine's Day coming up this coming month, let's talk a little bit about how people can find the right person by knowing their human design.
Okay, well, that was a good example that Chetan just gave. It's through honoring our own design that puts us in the right timing and in the right sort of trajectory to be able to, first of all, meet a life mate, to be able to draw a life mate into our life at all. I'm a good example. I had a very successful career, was married a few times, 5 children, and at age 46, still had never met my soulmate. And I really had a deep longing to love, to love in that way, to have a real soulmate. And human design, when human design came into my life, what I discovered is that I had been going about relationship in a completely opposite way to what my design said. So I stopped that. And it was not long after, some months afterwards, that I met Chetan. So, 46 years of 26 adult years, let's say, of longing for a mate, hoping for one, but approaching it in the wrong way, and therefore missing my opportunities.
It's really, pardon me for interrupting, it's really funny that you say that, because you and I, we talked about our similarities. I was the same way. And it took me not looking to find, which is really fascinating.
Right. And it's not the same for everybody,
No. It's the truth. That's truly wonderful and amazing. So let's say 2 people come to you in relationship, and they say, we want to make sure we're human design and life theme compatible, and you do their work, and you find out that they're really not. What do you do?
So my way of seeing things here, Victor, there's 2 kinds of relationship. There's a conscious relationship, or there's an unconscious relationship. And the unconscious relationship, generally speaking, everything gets swept under the rug. And so things don't get appreciated, things don't get discussed, things don't get worked out. So when I have a partnership to consult, when I'm working with 2 people and looking at their designs, and I can see right off looking at the charts, all relationships have some kind of sticking points in them. And when I can find a way to get them to laugh, because I can see where the relationship's going to have some difficulties, some friction. And if I can get them to laugh and see that, they both recognize it. And then I can say, well, look, you don't always have to go at it that way. You don't always have to have this stumbling block. There's a way through it. There's a way to appreciate it. There's a way to recognize your differences and to honor them. And in the end, love is what is always going to come through. So I know I'm getting through to people when I can make them laugh about the, what can I say, idiosyncrasies in their partnerships.
And then they start to accept them.
Then they accept them.
Absolutely. And in the process of acceptance, communication ensues. And when communication ensues, and it becomes a 2-way communication with true listening and true response, then love is preeminent in the relationship. And I think that's what we all can aspire to in this world. My wonderful guest tonight, Chetan Parkyn, his beautiful Carola Eastwood. They're the authors of the Book of Destinies, based on human design. Please share with our listeners one more time where they can find out more about you and this amazing work and get that free initial key and learn more about what you have to offer.
Absolutely, I'm happy to. You can join us, and we warmly welcome you at humandesign.com. forusall.com. It's all spelled out, human design, forusall.com. Come to our homepage. There's a complimentary report that will give you, it's about 4 or 5 pages about your design, gives you a good introduction to it. And then a next step that you may want to take is to get a comprehensive human design report. It's a very affordable report that explains your entire design, all the major elements of your design. It's about 20, 25 pages, all about you. And that's a really good place to start. And then, of course, we have classes and seminars, and we do personal one-on-one readings and coaching. So it's a whole world. So you just enter our human design world and begin engaging in a way that you feel called to.
And thank you so much, Chetan Parkyn, Carola Eastwood. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Your work is absolutely fascinating, and we've been blessed with your presence with us tonight.
Well, thank you, Victor.
Thank you. It's been a joy.
And thank you all. And thank you all for joining us on Destination Unlimited. I am Victor Furman. Join us next week on Destination Unlimited. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a wonderful week.